anybody else is checking me out, my name is Ron Tucker, and I want to thank everybody who's been subscribing to my channel lately. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to build this thing up, build it out, and hopefully I can do this full time. But I'm trying to put the time in to get the word out, because my mission is just bringing the truth to the troops. And there are a lot of people out there who maybe aren't aware of some of the facts and some of the information that other places disseminate and put out there. And I'm just trying to do my part in my own small way to reach some of those people who might not realize exactly what's going on from time to time. So hopefully we'll keep this thing going. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And it's my sidekick up here. We've been going at it a few times, but at the same time, he's my man. He's a Republican, and his name is Donald the Clown. Hey man, I haven't forgot about. There you go, man. Look, I got a lot of stuff in my head. I'm trying to remember different things. I ain't forgot your name. Sometimes I wish I had, but anyway, this is Donald the Clown, and he just, tries to keep me on my toes. Sometimes wants to aggravate me for no reason other than that he just a hole at times. What do you mean? The pot calling the kettle black. Yeah, you can say that now, but that's all right. I ain't really got time to fool with you tonight, man, because I got things to do and I'm trying to go to bed early for once. So anyway, and hell no, don't ask me again, man. How come every time I get on the show, you want to talk about some damn warm milk that you want me to go get for you? I am not your butler, bro. I am not your servant, and I'm not going to get you no warm milk. And look, man, my wife ain't thinking about you, dude. Oh, he talked about she didn't say that last night. Dude, you better be cool with those comments, man. Look, I'm only about a few seconds off of your ass. So, you wish she was giving you some kind of consideration like that. First of all, yeah, you need to buy you some new kicks because your toes are showing out of that boot. Oh, okay, I'll get you some new kicks whenever you earn your first commission, which will be never. All right, folks, let's get on with it. There are some things that are really troubling me, and I'm sure a lot of people feeling the same way. We've got a lot going on, of course, in our country, and to put it mildly, this president and his administration, for what it is cracked up to be and what he's put together, it's just a total embarrassment. It's just pitiful. We've never been through anything like this before, folks, and anybody who's been around for a minute, they know we've all seen the difference in leadership and a president that's really looking out for us Americans and not just his own interest. And if anybody thinks that Donald Trump is not capitalizing on his presidency, is just totally laughable. And I hold the Republicans, especially the Republican Congress and the Senate, and also the Supreme Court, and just so many people to blame for where we're at right now. At least of not, definitely the voters. Can't forget about them. They put him in office because they had to have him. No matter what he said or did, they had to have him. And look what we've got now. This wasn't a game, folks. A lot of people see now this has upended, if not destroyed, people's lives. because of the decision they made of putting this man back in office. And it still bewilders me and boggles my mind as to what the hell were people thinking about when they cast their votes. It seems to me that the racial animus and the misogyny towards Kamala Harris was greater than having a government that was running in a semblance of order, sanity, and realistic views and I guess, how should I put this? We had a chance to continue the progress we were making with the Biden administration. You might not like Joe Biden. You might not like Kamala Harris because she was Joe Biden's vice president. And as much as a lot of people don't want to hear it anymore, they don't want to admit it. The ones who are crying the blues right now don't want to admit it. But the majority of them, I don't care what color they were, what gender, I feel they just could not stand the thought of having another black, but this time a black female as commander-in-chief. It just completely boggles my mind how whatever little petty differences you had with Kamala Harris, first of all, how could you stack her credentials up against this felon, a convicted felon, who's sitting in the White House right now, destroying it and our country? Think about that for a second, folks. All of you people out there that just couldn't put y'all racial, like I said, your misogynistic animus and distaste for her. When you lay the cards on the table and do a side-by-side, apples-to-apples comparison of the two, Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, how the hell did he win? What kind of yardstick or litmus test was everybody comparing those two by? Donald Trump showed all of us 8 years ago what he was about and what he did. That all of you already knew. You saw it and you witnessed it. Kamala Harris, of course you can't compare her presidency with his because she's never been president, but she's been a VP. So where did Trump come from? He comes out of nowhere, out of a puff of smoke, lying and conniving, scheming. That's been his history. That's been his story. You see 6 bankruptcies, conning people back in the day with his pappy, denying minorities, especially blacks, housing in their housing units. Donald Trump claiming that the Central Park 5, those young black men and one Hispanic guy were guilty of rape and should be put to death and all that. And to this day has never apologized to those people. Donald Trump, who on the personal side committed adultery multiple times, many times with his different wives, but he's held up to such high esteem with the evangelical Christians, and Republicans and conservatives, being an upstanding gentleman. But yet, when his wife has a baby, he's out there kicking it with a porn star. And then after that, or before that, he carried on an affair for almost a year with that girl named Karen McDougal. You know the Access Hollywood thing. He said, grab the woman and you know what? I can do that because, I'm a star. When you famous, that's what we do. And he got convicted and found guilty of sexual abuse or battery, whatever you want to call it. Last time I checked Kamala Harris, she ain't got no mug shot. But she put a lot of people in a position to get a mug shot taken. So let's see. Kamala Harris went from a DA to AG, senator, and then vice president. What kind of road did Donald Trump take to get to the presidency in 2016? He was the star of a reality TV show. And a lot of people claims or feel like he was a very successful businessman with 6 bankruptcies, including bankrupting a casino. A casino, folks. A casino is basically an ATM machine housed inside of a building. And let's not forget about that higher education university called Trump University that was such a fraud that he had to fork over $25 million right before he got elected because if he didn't, he wasn't going to make it. He hurried up and ponied up that money. In 2016 through 2019, nothing but a calamity. A shit show, if you will. People going to jail, people getting indicted, him getting impeached twice along the way. Come on, y'all. Come on. Do I have to mention? Yeah, man, I'm going to say it. He ain't got to tell me. He told me don't forget about the COVID thing. How soon we forget. I guess a lot of people still don't realize or even know the hell that we went through under his watch dealing with COVID. My problem is with him, he knew about COVID 3, maybe 4 months before it even really hit our shores. He was briefed on the shit. And he sat on it. And every week, he was talking about, it's just going to go away. It's going to be all right. It's just like the flu. Nothing to worry about. China's taking care of it. They got it under control. Don't worry about it. It's going to go away next week. And week after week after week, as it continued to proliferate, he just sat on it. Because he panicked. He was paralyzed with fear. He didn't know what to do because he's never really faced a crisis. And when he did, he showed why he wasn't qualified to be president in the first place, the first time. Told us to drink Clorox or take some medicine that is typically geared for horses. And took advice from voodoo doctors in Washington and everything else, from QAnon to MAGA morons and anything he get his hands on from the right-wing media. I know a lot of people are traumatized. They don't want to remember all that shit from back then, but I do. And I keep bringing it up because we need to always remember where we came from, where we've been, in order for us to move forward and get ahead in the future. We went through an abysmal time period with that man the first time. And it's like a lot of people's brains are trying to block it out. I'm sorry, folks. I'll never forget what he did to us, and millions of people died, again, on his watch. And what was he doing almost the whole time? Going to rallies. And I ain't talking about the burger chain. Going to rallies, playing golf, of course, 24/7, and lying. Playing footsies with Putin, which he's still doing right now today. It was just an abomination of an administration. No one in American history can come close to this man and what he's done. No one. No one. Not even Tricky Dick or Hoover or Woodrow Wilson. There's been some shaky, shady individuals in the White House over the years. And the interesting thing to me is that people, especially white males, and probably white females too, that agree with their white male counterparts, they want to act like, well, all the problems we're experiencing are because of illegal immigrants and illegal immigrants and illegal immigrants. But it's interesting when you think about it. The United States has been governed by white men throughout its history, except for one time. And y'all know who that one person was. That person that Donald Trump can't get out of his head and is still trying to figure out a way to denigrate his name and try to attack him when he can. That shit's kind of fading out now because, see, now he's back in office again, unfortunately. And, of course, everything that's happening under his watch, he's going to try to shift the blame to his predecessor, like he always does. Okay? But when white people understand that if we got so many problems, you ain't got nobody to blame but white men. You can't blame no white women or black women because they never made it to the top because they made sure that they didn't. Hillary Clinton, overly qualified, highly qualified to be president before this orange clown. No offense to clowns now. I don't want you to get started. She got screwed. She could have made it, should have made it. Now, Kamala, I got my own thoughts about that election. Elon showed up. a sudden, some comments that Trump was making about having the election basically locked up. Makes you wonder when he talked about this would be the last election you have to worry about and stuff like that. And, me and Speaker Johnson, we got a secret about the election, and they say the numbers don't add up either. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. That's a discussion for another day in another video. But again, white men have screwed stuff up in this country, but they want to blame it on other things and other people. They couldn't see giving a woman a crack at it because they feel like they're the only ones that can do the job. Then they constantly run around bitching about where we at and how we got here. Y'all figure it out. Y'all running everything. But also, like I said earlier, the cowards of the universe, which are Republican congressmen in the Senate, they are so afraid of this one man. Scared to death. They ain't scared of Trump as a individual. What's he gonna do? Whose ass he gonna kick? Oh, he'll go off and maybe even cuss somebody out. Because he knows he got the protection of Secret Service and all that stuff. And because he's got all the Republicans on lock right now, ain't none of them going to stand up as a group and go up against him, no matter what he does in this country like he's doing right now, because they're all petrified. They're worried about getting threatened by the MAGA morons. And Trump threatening to primary anybody if you step out of line. Trump wants to be a mafioso. He wants to be a boss. Don't y'all remember the first term when he was asking why doesn't people bow down to him like they do with North Korea's president, or treat him with the same reverence as Xi Jinping's people over in China or any other dictator? Remember, he wanted to have tanks rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue to serenade him. Y'all don't remember all that, folks? See, the little tyrant, the little generalissimo that we got right now, he was the same way back then. But a lot of people, I guess, forgot all about this and like, okay, well, we'll take some more of that, sir, with a side of gravy. And the man told everybody this time what he was going to do, since he got this Project 2025 mandate. You see how many times he was signing those executive orders in a flurry, in a hurry, because all that shit was already done for him. You saw those stacks of binders put down in front of him. You think Trump sat down and took the time to do that on his own? People, you got to be out of your mind. The Project 2025 thing is the mandate for Trump and his minions to dismantle our government. And I put it on one of my shorts. But you need to look up this guy named Curtis Yarvin and look at his ideology. His dogma is all about turning the United States into something similar to a company and having Trump act as CEO and run it like a company. You see, people think theoretically it can be done. It doesn't work like that. It's not going to work like that. And if you do try to make it work like that, it ain't going to work. This is a country. It's not a bunch of employees, okay? This is citizens. These are people who have different lives and, of course, different thoughts on how the government should be ran. I mean, there are some people who are on the radical side, of course, and there are people on the moderate side. There are people dead center. But it's a group or conglomeration of people that are not employees overall. They have jobs. Well, some of them had jobs. They had federal jobs and whatnot, but this unqualified, unelected billionaire who's sucking money out of our government to the tune of about $8 million a day, that's what they say, based on government contracts. And he, along with this other so-called rich guy who's supposed to be our president, is just making money hands over fists, and they firing people left and right and putting them on the streets without any kind of source of income. Now, how does that make sense to you folks? I don't get it. This dude, Musk, is a South African, and I'm not trying to put down South Africa, but I know one thing. He comes from an apartheid type of government at one time. And you got the other guy named Peter Thiel. He's South African. And they all are in cahoots to change our government around to suit the wealthy like them. Folks, we are witnessing the destruction and the reconstruction of our government. And guess what? Our president is in bed with one of our mortal enemies, Russia. And the spectacle that JD, which I call just dumb, Vance, what they did to Vladimir Zelensky, and I know it's been rehashed 1,000 times now, but I'm putting 1,001 on it. What they did was horrific. When I saw it, as it's not one of my favorite terms, but it might be appropriate, I was gobsmacked by it. It was, and just like Vance and Trump put out the lies about Haitians eating cats and dogs, and they knew they were lies, but they did it. And Americans, in their racial fervor, they just snapped it up and ate it up. His base ate it up. And any other Americans with the same type of mindset, bigots, hate anybody that doesn't look like them. And if you don't talk like them, you ain't worthy of being in this country, even if you are a citizen. But America has been, and probably always will be, race-based in the final analysis. That's what it comes down to. We're built on that. And with all the, we don't want people to know history, so we're going to strip African Americans of their history. We're going to kick all the books out that teach us things other than their history. Like they're going to just whitewash us from the history. Because they just do not want to deal with the reality of what their forefathers did. And they are ashamed. But then they want to turn around and claim that white people have been oppressed. So it's the old reverse psychology. Y'all the victims. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't feel like, you can call me a racist if you want to because I talk about real stuff, real talk. Ain't got nothing against white people treat me right. But I'm aware of things, okay? I'm aware of the atrocities that still occur in our country. And my question, why are we as minorities still trying to fight for our rights? We still have to fight for justice. We can't be treated like our other American citizens. Why is that? But they want all of us to believe what America stands for. Donald Trump is making sure that he's changing that narrative and showing us exactly what he thinks, and his conservative Republicans think what America should stand for. Isolationism. And to the uninitiated, Donald Trump is going to make sure that he gets all he can out of this cash cow called the United States government. How many presidents do you think will sit up here in the White House and sell shit? Like they on the corner, open up their coat, all these fake watches, or whatever they're selling, okay? I mean, who does that as a president? Constantly grifting. The man has grifted for damn near 8 years, being connected to Washington and politics, being president twice. It's enough to really make you throw up to think he's been our president twice. And both times he's inherited stable economies. He's never dealt with a crisis right from the get-go. Barack Obama did. That's why Trump can't stand Barack Obama, because Barack Obama performed like a president should. And Trump knows he'll never, ever be able to match that. That's why Obama ain't worried about and dealing with lawsuits, and he ain't got no mugshot that I know of right now. Neither is Joe Biden. But they so crooked, according to Trump. Worst president histories, according to Trump. You didn't see Joe Biden selling articles and items and stuff like that from the White House. Only Trump. Only Trump's the only president that's been impeached twice. And one of the reasons why I think he ain't trying to support Zelensky in Ukraine, for some other reasons too, you had to ask Russia about that, is because he don't want to deal with Zelensky, because he got his ass burnt and scorched the last time he tried his fool with Zelensky about withholding funds in his first term. Got impeached over it. So you know he's salty when it comes to Zelensky. Folks, it's too late. You can't put them turds back in that horse now after you done dropped it. It just ain't gonna work. We just got to deal with this situation, but we got to fight and let people know where we stand. And I, for one, this is why I do this. I ain't no expert. I ain't getting paid for it, not one nickel, not 1 cent. But I do it because I feel it's my obligation to talk about things and let people know if I'm bringing some good information to you, then I'm doing my job, even if it's to one person. I don't even look at the numbers that much, the ratings and rankings and stuff on YouTube and all that stuff. I just do this every day and just keep my head down and just keep on doing it. If it becomes something that people want more out of from me, yeah, I'm welcoming it. But anyway, I mean, and by closing with saying this, a little bit of information for people's knowledge if you didn't know, because a lot of people always want to talk about the differences in different administrations and what they did and what they didn't do and blah, blah, blah. Okay. In case a lot of people didn't know, the 11th Congress was the most productive Congress since the 89th. And the 89th Congress was when LBJ was in office. Okay. And here it says the 89th Congress is regarded as arguably the most productive in American history. Some of its landmark legislation includes Social Security amendments of 1965, the creation of Medicare and Medicaid, the Voting Rights Act, Higher Education Act, Immigration Nationality Act of 1965, Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and the Freedom of Information Act. Now, I'm sure some of those are familiar to you folks, okay? Now, let's look at the differences between the three different Congresses during the periods of when Barack Obama was president, Joe Biden assumed the presidency, and Donald Trump's presidency, and the Congresses that were under these people's administration. The 111th Congress was arguably the most productive Congress since the 89th Congress, and the 89th Congress was the Congress under Lyndon B. Johnson. The 111th Congress, which was, again, during President Barack Obama's tenure, their legislation produced Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, Patient Protection Act, of course, the Affordable Care Act, the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Act, Consumer Protection Act, and the New START Treaty. Now, the 115th Congress, which was Republican-led, and that was with Donald Trump, was typified as modest at best. Translated to people like me, who've seen his Congress perform, they stinked. Because right now, in this Congress we got currently, even when they were the majority during Joe Biden's tenure, the best thing that they were known for doing was holding hearings and chasing after Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and anybody else they can try to figure out how to try to vilify and prosecute, because they weren't interested in passing any kind of legislation or doing the work for the people. Useless. That's pretty much it. Let's look at the 117th Congress. Okay. Now, this was the Congress that was involving, and we see here. Yep. Despite holding thin majorities in both chambers during a period of intense political polarization, the 117th Congress oversaw the passage of numerous significant bills. Now, again, this was Joe Biden's era. This included the Inflation Reduction Act, the American Rescue Plan Act, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, Postal Service Reform Act, Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, Chips and Science Act, Honoring Our Pact Act, Electoral Count Reform, Presidential Transition Improvement Act, and Respect for Marriage Act. Okay? So, 89th Congress and 111th Congress. Let's take a look at Don the Con, or Captain Bone Spurs, whatever you want to call him, Trump. Let's see what his claim to fame is. On his first day, he pardoned about 1,500 people convicted of offenses in the January 6th Capitol riot. Criminals, just like him. Within his first month, he signed approximately 70 executive orders, far more than any other president, some of which are being challenged in court. And didn't I say earlier, all those executive orders? You think Trump worked hard enough to put together 70 executive orders? No, I mean, no president does it by himself, but those things were put on the silver platter by Project 2025. On immigration, he signed executive orders blocking asylum seekers from entry to the United States, reinstated the national emergency at the Mexican border, designated drug cartels as terrorist organizations, and attempted to end birthright citizenship. He signed the Lake and Riley Act as the first piece of legislation of his second term. And I talked about the difference between Lake and Riley's murder and a black girl who got murdered and dismembered by a white guy, and the equivocation between her murder because it was committed by an illegal immigrant, and this white guy who killed this 19-year-old black girl. And in my previous video, I asked the question, well, it really was one of my shorts. I asked the question, so when somebody's murdered, it's a tragedy. So why is there always so much emphasis on a white girl who gets murdered versus a black girl who gets murdered? And the black girl was murdered in a horrific fashion, being dismembered, and her body parts still have been found, not all of them yet. And the white girl was murdered too. Now, because she wasn't dismembered, I'm not trying to say both of them have a different set of value to it. They were both killed tragically. But when it's a white girl, and I know politically, Trump and his people put a lot of significance to it, and the Republicans, to enact legislation on her behalf so they can use that as a reason to really go after illegal immigrants and immigrants in general. That's their pretense. So I know that kind of discussion or conversation kind of rubs some people the wrong way, but like I said before, I'm believing bringing the truth. So Trump established a Department of Government Efficiency, or Inefficiency if you will, called DOGE, led by Elon Musk, which is tasked with cutting spending, limiting federal bureaucracy, and has overseen mass layoffs of federal employees. There's a way to do things, and there's a way not to. And of course, Trump, being ignorant as he is, he doesn't understand a better way to do things. But here we are. In international affairs, Trump once again withdrew the United States from the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Accords. Again, isolationism. He started a trade war with Canada and Mexico and continued the ongoing trade war with China. He goes after our allies and our close border neighbors to start shit with them just because he's an asshole. Now, he repeatedly expressed his interest to annex Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal. Now, what the hell do we need to acquire anything? We can't handle shit that's going on domestically within our borders. In response to the Gaza war, he proposed taking over the Gaza Strip, forcibly relocating the Palestinian population to other Arab states and rebuilding Gaza into a tourist resort. Man is fucking crazy. It's my language. He is. He is. We know, most of us understand that. To end the Russian invasion of Ukraine, that Russia started, but all these people want to follow Trump's idiotic mindset and lick his boots. They want to blame it on Ukraine, which is typical of people who support Donald Trump. So what Trump has done so far, in his infinite wisdom, his administration has suspended the provision of intelligence and military aid to Ukraine, offered concessions to Russia, requested half of Ukraine's oil and minerals as payment for U.S. support, and said that Ukraine bore partial responsibility for the invasion. These moves have been criticized by most United States allies and by many international organizations. He's so crazy that that's just like what happens in everyday life. When a woman gets battered, it's her fault. People, the logic is not logical. And Trump, to me, is a traitor to our country. And he's working his damnedest. Michael Cohen stated that he didn't think that Putin has anything on Trump that's making him act this way and this and that. I don't know. I have to tend to differ. And with all respect to Michael Cohen, because I like him a lot, it's either money or Putin's got some things on Trump. What you say? My boy Donald the Clown said he thinks it's a loot. I do too. I do too. I think it's might be a little bit of both, but I believe there's a lot of loot involved because Trump has been compromised for so long. His son said it years ago about they get all their money from Russia. So if you get money from somebody, you owe somebody, and there's a debt to pay. Anyway, I'm going to end it on that note, folks. I hope y'all take a good listen to some of the things I cover because it's a million of them. Too many to cover in one setting. But thank you for taking a look at my channel, and I appreciate all the new subscribers who've been coming on board. I hope to bring a better product every day, every night, anytime I do these things. So take care of yourselves. We're going to get through this like we've always gone through, gotten through things. So again, have a good evening, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if I didn't do good tonight, I hope to do better next time. Take care of yourself. God bless all of you.